If anyone ever suggests you Google what the Red Constructor is, don't fall for it, because there's no such thing as a Red Constructor. Here are the most harmless images Google shows for this search, but the rest are, let's say, way too explicit. According to the search results, Google shows old Soviet photographs where experiments on humans were carried out. But the true horror of the Red Constructor isn't even that the photos are disgusting, it's about what they were made for. You need to know something. Back during the war, even as early as 1941, there were rumors in the USSR about creating artificial humans who would become universal soldiers assembled from several people into one. They wanted to make biological weapons that would be several times stronger than enemy forces. Similar rumors spread in almost every country during wartime. Based on some of these stories, they even made a semi-documentary film of the Red Constructor. But here's one small detail. When they filmed it, the footage was purchased from a secret government agency for several million. Meaning, this footage wasn't staged and didn't show silicone dolls. Some of the clips are so horrifying, they can only be found on the dark web, and people literally pay money to watch them. And here's another strange thing. If we look into the idea of the film, we'll see that the author also wanted to talk about another subject, about how, in addition to creating artificial humans, they were developing psychotropic weapons. Weapons that could, in a sense, sculpt anything they wanted from your brain, just like a constructor. Now that you know both of these facts, doesn't anything feel off to you? First, how did the author get hold of this footage even for millions if it was so secret? And second, why was this film shown openly in theaters everywhere? To possibilities, either this whole story is total nonsense, or the footage was no accident and the film itself was a kind of constructor, a psychotropic weapon. Just so you know, back when people went to theaters to watch it, many fainted during the screening, and some even vomited. And what if, while watching the movie, you were actually being exposed to that very psychotropic weapon? Either way, I wouldn't recommend testing it out. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. I'm sorry if you're watching this before bed, but this bride isn't sorry for you at all. Meet Goddess Bunny. If you've seen her on the internet, you've probably also heard the rumor that she wasn't really a she at all, but a he. At some point in his life, this guy decided to become a girl. And here's where the mystery begins. He was already paralyzed, and back then inexperienced doctors tried to straighten his spine by inserting a metal rod. They stitched it inside him, but only made things worse, deforming his body even further. Throughout his life, he was humiliated and abused in foster homes, and his own mother abandoned him due to religious differences. It's as if all the horror he collected in his mind over his entire life somehow transmits to everyone who watches this video. And this clip is just a short excerpt. The full film about him was deleted long ago, and now can only be found on certain dark websites. Not that you'd really want to, because here's another important fact. After people watched the full film, there were documented cases of children being admitted to psychiatric hospitals with paranoia and hallucinations, which isn't so surprising, because his entire biography isn't backed by any official documents. All that's known about him comes only from his own words. Everyone knows there are endless theories about what really happened to Michael Jackson after his life ended. But have you ever thought about the idea that maybe his life never actually existed in the first place? If you haven't figured out what I mean yet, Here's a piece of internet lore that's been around for years, and you've probably seen it. Originally, this video appeared on a Mexican TV channel, uploaded by an anonymous user. At first glance, it looks like just an animatronic. But if you look into its eyes, it doesn't seem like a doll at all. If you still don't get where this is going, I'll clarify. There is number 100% proof that Michael Jackson really died. But the weirdest part isn't even that video, it's the earlier videos this same user uploaded, before the so-called fake Michael Jackson went viral. On his channel, there was once a video where he claimed to have caught a real house spirit, a brownie, later. All those videos mysteriously disappeared. But look closely at the faces of both these beings and notice how similar their noses are. I started getting recommended videos of people claiming to see house spirits in their homes. The videos themselves weren't what scared me, it was the comments. Among them were countless adults, many in their 40s, saying it's dangerous to joke about summoning a house spirit, and warning others never to encounter one in real life, even once. This summer, if you go swimming and hear this sound underwater, do yourself a favor and go sunbathe instead. All those clips you've seen online are just modeled renderings of whatever made that sound, to understand where it came from. In 1997, US security services were working on clearing old wartime mines on the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. At some point, their equipment recorded a strange sound. The recording was later converted to a frequency audible to the human ear. After analyzing it, scientists concluded that no known creature, not even the blue whale, produces such low frequencies. Just so you understand, here's the frequency of a blue whale, and here's the frequency of that strange sound dubbed the bloop. To this day, similar low frequency sounds have only been recorded near black holes. And if you play them together, they sound almost identical. Let's be clear, I'm not saying there's a black hole at the bottom of our ocean. But there's a much more interesting theory. Let's check the coordinates where this sound was registered. It's about here. Doesn't that location remind you of anything? Now let's Google the coordinates where H.P. Lovecraft placed Cthulhu. In his stories, Cthulhu is a gigantic sea deity and ancient god who sleeps for eternity at the bottom of the Pacific. Turns out, the coordinates line up suspiciously close. Sure, we live in the real world, not a horror story, but doesn't it bother you that this has remained unexplained for over 30 years? Are we just ignoring the possibility that there's something as massive as the entire Pacific Ocean hiding down there? What do you think would happen if you strapped a camera to an RC car and drove it into the center of an Egyptian pyramid? Spoiler, you'd lose signal and you'd probably get arrested. But here's what you might see before that happens. One YouTuber did exactly this. He built a custom RC car and sent it into one of the pyramid's unofficial entrances. About a year ago, researchers discovered a hidden passage inside the pyramid that had been sealed for centuries. Using infrared scans, they mapped the tunnels and uploaded their findings online. That's likely where this guy got his information. The tunnel was about 9 meters long and only 30 centimeters high, so no human could fit inside. After an hour of wandering around the corridors, the car entered the tunnel. About 30 seconds later, it approached a chamber and then the footage cut off. According to the creator, the signal was lost. But here's the creepy part. In the final frame, you can clearly see the silhouette of a human. How could someone still be alive there if the tunnel had been sealed the whole time? This story would just be another internet mystery, if not for a recent post from boxer Ryan Garcia. He went public on social media, saying he was once a member of a Masonic society, but left because what they were doing was too much even for a fighter. That alone was bizarre, but minutes later, Social media platforms around the world glitched simultaneously. And now, only fragments of his video remain deleted almost everywhere. In 2012, in the Czech Republic, a milkmaid walking across a field saw what looked like a flashlight left behind. She tried to pick it up, but it wasn't a flashlight at all. Around the same time, an air traffic control center in the area reported a glowing ball of light flying through a window, circling the room, and then leaving. That same day, a strange anomaly occurred. Every computer shut down, only to reboot hours later. Here's the real mystery about ball lightning. Not everyone in the room saw it. Scientists explain it as a hallucination caused by electromagnetic fields from a normal lightning strike affecting neurons in the brain. So it both exists and doesn't exist at the same time, which means no one really knows what it actually looks like. Supposedly, it appears differently to every person. Photos suggest it looks like a flickering orb, like a small flashlight in the bushes you want to pick up. But here's the unsettling part. Why didn't it behave like regular lightning, striking randomly? Why did it fly through the control room without harming anyone? The way it moved resembled the flight path of an insect, almost as if it wasn't random at all, but had its own consciousness. Key phrase, as if. When I first saw this photo, I thought it was a joke, just a bent foot. But trust me, this is no joke. It's called lotus feet, and in reality, it's horrific. Young girls in China used to have their feet bound and forced into tiny shoes. If the foot didn't fit, grandparents would literally break every toe except the big one, then bend the foot until it fit. This was considered beautiful. Over time, the foot would grow, but the bound shape remained, much like forcing a watermelon into a mold. The difference is, watermelons don't have nerves, they don't rot. Human feet, however, did. This led to necrosis, literally rotting flesh. Many women eventually lost their toes entirely and had to be carried by servants. And disturbingly, this was seen as a status symbol of wealth. A long time has passed since then, hasn't it? And yet, today we still consider this practice, at best, deeply disturbing. In theory, after a major accident, doctors can rebuild a person almost like Lego pieces, but will we have to pay a price for this? Take this man, for example. He may become the first person to have his head transplanted onto another body. His own body is completely paralyzed due to disease. The idea is that if one person's body is destroyed, but their brain is intact, doctors can transplant their head onto another person whose brain is damaged, but body is healthy. That way, instead of both dying, at least one survives. Sounds logical, right? But now imagine waking up after such a surgery, walking up to a mirror and seeing someone else's face staring back. Everything you knew about yourself is gone. Your eyes, your hair, your features all replaced. The only thing left is the memory of the person you once were. And most likely, your old body will have been cremated. But what if we take it further? What if instead of transplanting the whole brain, only half is transplanted? Cases exist where people lose part of their brain, not the whole thing. Who wakes up then, you, or the other person, or both? Would you hear the thoughts of the person whose body you've been given? Honestly, it's not that far-fetched. In the next 20 years, this might actually become reality. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow.